I wanted to greet all of you who are here, all peace fighters, people struggling for peace. And just to know that we live in a world today that is very integrated on the one hand, and on the other hand, the inequality has never been so stark as we have it at this point in time. As a result of this situation, we experience great instability and often create grave dangers to countries, to regions, and to the world as a whole. It has been recognized that, that important that it is important in creating conditions for sustainable peace. We need to deal with the inequality and the poverty created by the unjust socioeconomic relations that are predominant in our world today and they exist both within countries and between countries. We need to have a very bold plans and initiatives to deal with these issues. The plan must be anchored, in my view, in the assumption or the axiom that there is a very strong correlation between peace and development. The two concepts tend to promote and reinforce each other, and there is truly a dialectical relationship between them. Therefore, looking at the events with a world view, with a perspective of the whole world or large regions like the Middle East, suggests to us that we have to be bold and think in very global terms. We have to think in terms of mutual benefits, or as President Xi Jinping of China has put it, we have to think about win-win positions where we all will benefit and there will be no losers. It is in this context that we must view the LaRouche Oasis plan. This plan is grounded in the philosophy and the views that development and peace are the two sides of the same coin, and if both are to be sustainable, they have to be seen as moving together in the positive correlation. The proposals are imaginative in it and sought to integrate the poor and the rich to develop the poor areas while not we're not talking about being Robin Hood to make the rich poorer, but to ensure that the poor areas are also come up and be as rich in order to give them the possibility of catching up. And this relates not only within and between countries, but between the North and the South of our world that we have to deal with. Taken together with other initiatives like the Belt and Road Initiative that was proposed and is being implemented by China, gives a lot of hope that we can deal with many of the scourges that have created much of the crises that plague our world today. Allow me to touch in passing on another plan that was developed about 2 years ago. It came out at a meeting of the G7 countries. And while I think there were some good proposals in that plan, and that plan, I think the Chinese even had welcomed it, even though, but my own view is that this plan was put forward by the G7 countries, but I don't think that it will succeed, largely because of what it is premised on. And it is premised on countering China's Belt and Road Initiative. I believe that any plan that is based on where the main focus is not really to help to resolve the fundamental issues that creates problems in our world, but seeks to undermine another group of countries or a country that is seeking to do their best to change change the world for the better and to sabotage their efforts, I don't think it will succeed. And we see that idea is not confined to one set of the ruling circles in the United States, but it goes across the board. Because although this plan was developed under the Biden administration, with his kind of leadership of in the G7, we see that President Trump had already forced Panama to withdraw from the Belt and Road Initiative using their power in that direction. But I wish to come back to the OASIS plan and see that this is an opportunity now that they're talking about the reconstructing the Gaza and really looking at the situation in the Middle East, that this plan can be central to a lot of what is being talked about today. Allow me also to deal with some of the other issues that were raised just now by the two previous speakers, as it relates to the issue in the Middle East. I think one of the major weakness in the continuous failure of coming to a settlement in the Middle East has to do with the fact that the United States has managed to remove any country that has an objective view of what is taking place and remove them because of their support for Israel. And they have given Israel a carte blanche to do as they please in these areas. So even if you look at now, with the work that is being done by the United States, Egypt, and Qatar, none of these three countries are really honest brokers in this regard. The United States is the one that is supplying the weapons to destroy the Palestinian people and to help in encouraging ethnic cleansing, give them diplomatic support at the United Nations, Security Councils, and other areas. Now we're even banning the International Criminal Court for attempting to charge Netanyahu. And they are now also turning their attention on South Africa, that has really been the country that has saved our conscience in many, many areas. And Egypt is totally dependent on the United States economically, and Qatar is the host of the United States' largest military base in the Middle East. So I think that one of the principal things that we have to do now is to get back other forces in the negotiating sector. I spoke about this last week. And I would say, since this matter arose from the United Nations, then the United Nations must begin to take back some amount of responsibility in bringing a settlement into the Middle East area. And I would want, as I proposed last week, I thought about it even more, and I think even more we should try to bring back the members of the Security Councils, all the permanent members of the Security Council, the 5 permanent members of the Security Council should take the place in negotiation with the situation in Palestine and Israel, because Palestine cannot negotiate with Israel by themselves. They're too weak. They have no resources, and they will lose more in that regard. The international community has a responsibility, and I think that it lies fundamentally with the United Nations to be involved in this. I was also very enthusiastic, and still am, that the best solution is a two-state solution. I know some people have argued that much has changed with a lot of the settlers there, and some people have come up with the idea of a democratic one-state solution. But having looked at what happened over the last 15 months or so in that area, and the fact that when you look at the public opinion in Israel, that more than 60% of them were supportive of the genocide, I think it's very difficult to talk about a one-state solution. And difficult as it is, I believe that the call has got to be those settlers. They came from somewhere. Most of them came from the United States, some of them from Europe. They have their homes. Those are the ones that should vacate and go back to their homes. Nobody is chasing them out of the United States. Nobody is persecuting them in the United States or in Europe or any part of Europe. And I think that they should be asked to leave the land that they have come there illegally to settle on. And the other issue as it relates to Palestinian governance, I think it's an important question, because if the West's, particularly the US's proposal and Egypt's and Israel's proposal that Hamas will not have a say in the affairs of Gaza or in the affairs of Palestine. You recall that when they had the one elections in Palestine, Hamas has actually won the elections. So I agree with Comrade Pandor that it is important for the Palestinians to have their say in this. And if the solution is not rooted in some type of democratic solution, I do not think that it will succeed. And it is not for any outside force to tell the Palestinian people who should be their government. It has to be a democratic solution if we are going to have lasting peace. These are some of the ideas that I'd like to share with colleagues today, and I want to thank you for your attention.